Right, now let's go straight into it. Now I created a mnemonic for you to help you remember how to extend your answer. I told you if you watch just this video alone, you'll be good to go for your exam. So pay close attention. So this mnemonic, how many of you have seen CCTV before? So that's security camera where you find in offices and shops. Have you seen a red one before? Well, if you haven't, for the sake of the IELTS speaking test, imagine one in your mind. Okay, so RED-CCT, but in this case is not V but H. So RED-CCTH. This helps you remember the connectives, 7 connecting languages that would keep you on top of every question. Hi everyone, my name is Dr. Ennis Oloranipa. Welcome to my channel. If it's your first time, please remember to subscribe. And if it's not your first time and you're yet to subscribe, what are you waiting for? Please pause the video for a few seconds and subscribe. The red button below is free. And please leave a comment, share with your friends. We have amazing content on this channel, so I'm sure you're going to love staying here. Alright, so this video is part 3 of the videos on IELTS speaking tests. So I made part 1, part 2. So if you have to see any of those videos, please click the link showing right now at the top of the screen to watch parts 1 and 2 of this video. And in those videos, I said they are must watch before your exam. So I shared with you uncommon tips really that will help you in your exam. Now, in part 3, I promised you that we're going to answer questions in part 1, 2, and 3. And I'll show you how to answer these questions. Now, for the IELTS speaking test, you want to know how to extend your answer. So I'm going to show off that to you, give you some tips, some mnemonics that will keep you going. And trust me, if this is the only video you watch before your IELTS speaking test, you will have a good score. Trust me. Alright, so the first thing I want to show you is the speaking test format. What should you expect? So the speaking test lasts for between 11 and 14 minutes. The first part, the examiner will ask you general questions about work, family, studies, your interests, and this lasts between 4 to 5 minutes. The part 2 lasts for 3 to 4 minutes. Now in this part, you're given a question card, and then you have a paper, plain paper and pen to take down points, your main points from the question. You have 1 minute to do that. And then for 2 minutes, the examiner will ask you to speak. So you have to answer the questions in the question card. Now part 3 is further discussion on part 2. So based on the topic in your part 2, you're asked further questions. But in this third part, you give more abstract ideas. All right, so again, you can screen grab this page and read in details some other things that you need to know about the part 1. Part 2 is also called the long run because again, you're speaking for 2 minutes, so it's really a long time in the IELTS speaking test. So again, you can screen grab this screen and then walk through the part 2. The part 3 is discussion. So again, like I said earlier, more general and abstract ideas on the second part. Okay, so now the next thing you want to know is the IELTS speaking band descriptors. That is the criteria. What are the examiners looking for? How do they assess you? How do you get scored? Is it just mysteriously, or there are things that you should look out for and work on them because these are the criteria by which you are assessed? All right, so there are 4 of them. The first one is fluency and coherence. The second one is lexical resource, also called vocabulary. The third one is grammatical range and accuracy. And the fourth one is pronunciation. Now, I said in the first video that you don't have to bother so much about your accent. You're not being scored based on your accent. I've seen many people who are Arabians, Indians, score 9.0 because it's not about the accent. The IELTS is designed mainly for non-native English speakers. So you're not expected to have a British accent or an American accent. You know, the most important thing is that when you speak, can people understand you? That's why pronunciation is key, how you pronounce your words. So for each of them, you have descriptor. So if you want to score a band 9, you know exactly what you should do. So it's not a mystery at all. You can look at the band you want to score and then check out the description. What are the descriptors? What points? What are the highlights of that particular score? So let's look at a band 9, for example. Fluency and coherence. It says speaks fluently with only rare repetition or self-correction. Secondly, any hesitation is content related rather than to find words or grammar. That means when you have any delay in answering any question, it's not because you do not know, you don't have the words to express yourself, but probably you're thinking of exactly what content, to say. The next one is speaks coherently with fully appropriate cohesive features. Now, for fluency, we're talking about how long can you communicate without having these breaks in between. How can you use connecting language to continue to have a flow in your conversation? And of course, coherence has to do with logical reasoning. How logical are your thoughts? Do they make sense? You see, that's coherence. Then the last point there is develops topics fully and appropriately. Now, I want you to go through each of them. I'm going to put the link in the video in the description for band descriptors so you can download it and take your time to explore each of those descriptors. But for lexical resource, again, say your vocabulary, words, how much words you have in your arsenal. So you don't keep repeating the same words. They want to know that, and that is assessed through your lexical resource. Grammatical range and accuracy has to do with your sentence types. Do you use the correct sentences? They are simple sentences, compound and complex sentences. Do you use the right verbs, the right adjectives? Do you use the correct tenses, past, present, past participle, future tenses? You see, that's where your grammatical accuracy, range and accuracy comes in. And of course, your pronunciation. All right, now let's go straight into it. Now I created a mnemonic for you to help you remember how to extend your answer. I told you if you watch just this video alone, you'll be good to go for your exam. So pay close attention. So this mnemonic, how many of you have seen CCTV before? So that's security camera where you find in offices, in shops. Have you seen the red one before? Well, if you haven't, for the sake of the IELTS speaking test, imagine one in your mind. Okay, so RED-CCT, but in this case is not V but H. So RED-CCTH. This helps you remember the connectives, 7 connecting languages that would keep you on top of every question. So the R stands for reason, the E example, D details, C comparison, the second C contrast, T transition, and then H highlighting. So let's go straight into each one of them. Reason. So when you're extending when you're asked a question, now you could be asked a very simple question as to, for example, do you cook? Now, if you're speaking with your friend, that's a very straight answer. No, I don't. But in IELTS, because it's an exam, they want to see how well you can communicate and build on your answer. One sentence will not be enough, will not suffice. So that's why you should have a minimum of 3 sentences for a question. So usually 3 to 5 would be ideal. Get to 6, but not more than 6 really. So reason. What is the reason for that particular thing? So look at the 2 examples here. My family all have to walk to work, and that's due to the fact that there is no bus service in our village. So you see, that's due to the fact that is highlighted in bold letters, because that's the connecting language to express reason. The next one, I haven't had a chance to go running for some time as a result of the weather we've had recently. Again, you see, as a result of in bold letters. Now, you can also use because. I haven't come yet because so do you cook? No, I don't cook because growing up, my mom never taught me how to cook. We mostly ate out because my parents were busy. They had 9 to 5 jobs, and when they came back, most times they were tired. So I never got to learn how to prepare dishes. That was a good one, right? Yeah. So reason, you see, I built on it. So instead of saying the simple no, I don't cook, I use reason to build on my answer. And the next one is example. Example. So you're giving an example or examples really to extend your answer. There are lots of reasons why I prefer living in the city. It's much easier to find all the services you want. For example, transport service, internet service, so you give example. Think about the cooking question. No, I don't cook because I enjoy to eat out. For example, I enjoy Chinese cuisine, and I have an Indian friend who also makes lovely Indian dishes. So I think that really doesn't make me prepare a lot of dishes, something like that. So I'm giving an example. So when I said I love to eat out, I gave examples. For example, I said Chinese cuisine, I said Indian dishes. Do you understand? So you use examples to extend your answer. Look at the next example here. I think there are more job opportunities. For instance, so that's another connecting language. So you can say, for example, you can say, for instance. Okay. Next one, details. So at this part, you're giving more details, additional information on the subject topic. So look at the example here. Apart from those traditional meat dishes I mentioned, there are also lots of well-known desserts from my region. You see, again, apart from is highlighted, also is highlighted. The next example is good public transport can definitely make life easier for many people, as well as helping to keep pollution levels lower. You see, I'm giving details, additional information, as well as. Do you understand? The next one is the C, the first C, comparison. So in this case, you're likening what you're talking about to something else, and you're picking the similarity between them. So look at the example here. My parents don't tend to wear traditionally formal clothes like suits or dresses. Likewise, I much prefer more informal clothing. That's nice. Likewise, you see, you're comparing to yourself. I think my hometown is exactly the same as any other town of the same size in my country. The connecting language there is exactly the same as, you can see highlighted in bold letters. So you want to use comparison to extend your answer. Okay, the next one is contrast. 2 examples here. The city tends to be noisier and more polluted, while the countryside is obviously quieter and has cleaner air. So contrast is like opposite. So you pick something else and then you are showing the variance between both of them. Next example, the city is a place which usually has lots of work options as opposed to the countryside where I don't think you have so many opportunities. That's amazing. That's another way you can actually extend your answer. Contrast. Oh, I enjoy to play football, unlike my younger sister who enjoys watching cartoons. Unlike. That's a connected language as well. Now the next one is transition. Now I particularly love transition because it gives you time to think. Okay, look at this example. You ask the question and then you say, the first point I would like to make is, meanwhile, there's no first point on your mind. But you use that first phrase to buy yourself time. The first point I would like to make is that most people just don't have time to read at length these days. You see, then again, transition can be in between sentences. The next example, and that's one important factor. The other thing I would say is, you see, that's the connecting language. The other thing I would say is that prices have to come down in order to be attractive for more people. The third example, moving on to the second point in your question, I have to say I completely agree. These are the connecting languages there. These help you to, and I told you fluency and coherence. Fluency, this helps particularly with fluency. There's a flow in your conversation. All right, the next and the final one is highlighting. Highlighting. The first example here is it's worth pointing out that these days the internet is more and more widespread in my country. You see, it's worth pointing out. That's the, you highlight it. It may not be worth pointing out in reality, but just to extend your answer, you say it's worth pointing out. The next example is a good primary education is particularly important, I think. See, particularly important. So you stress it as though it were really important. All right, so do not forget RED-CCTH. You don't have to use all of them in answering one question, okay? 3 to 5 sentences. So you could use a mixture of reason and details, example and highlighting, contrast and comparison, just as you deem fit for the question. But pick any of them and you will not get stuck on any question. So now let's answer the questions. So these questions, I didn't look at them before setting up this presentation. So I want them to be as exam situation as possible, So I'm seeing them for the first time as well. Just copied and pasted them. I wanted to make it more natural, and let you know that you can probably even miss some points, but it's not as important. If you notice in the fluency and coherence for band 9, it said rarely makes mistakes, but if you don't make a mistake, you self-correct yourself. So to get a band 9 doesn't mean you didn't make any mistake at all. No, it just means that you're able to correct yourself, and of course the other band descriptors there. So part 1 is introduction and interview. It lasts for 4 to 5 minutes. The examiner has the questions before him or her, and you don't get to see the questions, so he or she is asking you and then you are replying. Now, be very relaxed in your exam, okay? In fact, what I tell my students is put your examiner under pressure. So you can be so confident and enjoy the conversation. Is that okay? So the first question is, where are you from? Oh, I'm from Lagos, Nigeria. Lagos is the business capital of my country. It is located in the western part of the country with about a population of about 1 million people. We have many businesses in my city, and of course lovely attractions as well. You can stop there. 5 sentences. You don't have to, even you can tell when you're speaking for too long. You see, it starts getting, too long, then just cut it somewhere. But I like to tell my students to end on a convincing note. You see, don't stop abruptly as though you're stuck and thinking about what to say. No, conclude your thoughts very well. Okay? Even if it means you repeating the last sentence you said. Maybe you said something like, the population is about 1 million people. And probably you thought you had something more to say, but it's not coming right now. Repeat that and say, yeah, about 1 million people. That's pretty much. So conclude on a convincing note. Don't give your examiner the impression that you don't have what more to say. How else can you answer this question? So if you notice in my answer, I spoke about location. You see, I said the western part. I spoke about population. I spoke about tourist sites. Now, in your own answer, you can give examples of the tourist site. For example, we have the museum, we have a zoo, we have a beautiful park in the center of the city. That's another way you can extend your answer, by giving an example of the tourist site. You can talk about the weather. The weather is a cold city, it's a warm city. You can talk about the people that live there. We have friendly people there. They are hospitable. You can talk about the buildings, have old buildings. You can talk about so many things. Even the description of the the government building, you know, something significant about your city. You see, you can compare it and say, unlike the western part of the country, the people in Lagos are multi-talented and they deal in different kinds of jobs and occupations, something like that. So you can use comparison, you can use contrast, you can use highlighting. You can say, I love Lagos so much, particularly the traffic, even though it could be very annoying sometimes, but just the air and the atmosphere of people moving around, it's lively. And that's why I enjoy to live in Lagos. You see, so there are many areas you can explore with these 7 tools I gave you. The next question is, where do you live now? So you can answer this with respect to uh, my hometown, where I'm from, is different from where I live. So you can still pick a different city and say, even though I'm from the western part of the country, I live in the northern region. Okay, I live in Kano. Kano is the most populated city in the country. Then you can talk about other things, like I said, okay, what people do there. Talk about the maybe even the religion, the percentage of women to men, the statistics. So, or you can answer this in the direction of accommodation. Where do you live now? So I live in the center of the city. I'm here in Lagos, where I'm from, and it's a bungalow. Even though around my area you have duplexes and story buildings, but I live in a bungalow. It's rented, but it's quite comfortable, spacious, and I think good enough for me and my family. Something like that. So you can bring it home to, because the question is not so specific as to accommodation or like city where you live or even country. So see, one thing I tell my students is ensure you have enough words in your word bank. You see, have your arsenal loaded with words, vocabulary, so that you can move in different directions. See, if you're asked a question and you feel you don't have strong enough points in that particular topic area, move to where you have strengths. Move to where you have strengths and explore your strengths. Is that okay? Now, the next one is, how long have you lived there? You can pick it up from something like this. Well, previously I lived in the village, growing up there with my parents. But 5 years ago, I moved to the urban settlement, you see, to the urban settlement. And since this 5 years, I think it's been really beneficial because I've been more productive, and I got a good job that pays me well, good salary. So yeah, it's been great. You see, so I picked it from where I was previously to where I am now. So that's a good way to start. Or you can say, well, I've lived here for 5 years. Now you can give a reason. Because it is a land of opportunities, I must say. You have foreigners who come in, week out. You're able to have interactions, and of course, sign back big contracts. You know, Lagos actually gives you the avenue to explore and show your skills, and I think that for me is most important about life. Something like that. So you can play around any of these, can give details, can give comparison. Oh, as compared to unlike my village where I was, where you had just few buildings and you could count the houses there. Lagos has lots of skyscrapers, tall buildings, and even the small ones as well. So you can actually play around any of those connectives. All right, the next question is, who do you live with? Oh, I live with my siblings and my parents. You know what it is like living with younger brothers and sisters, lots of responsibilities, but we cohabit well. We're able to have interactions with the family and keep bonding. Okay, how about the another way you can answer it? Who do you live with? Oh, I live alone because. So you can't start by I live alone because I'm an introvert and I don't like people intruding in my space. So I keep friends at bay, even colleagues. Um, I've had many opportunities to accept people to live with me, but I decline such requests. You can stop there. So who do you live with? You can go in different directions. I say, oh, I live alone. But even though I live alone, I have lovely neighbors. So I get to interact with people who live around me. We get to play games together and sports. So that still keeps my social life much intact. Do you understand? So you can go in different directions. Reason, example, details, comparison, contrast, transition, highlighting. Any of them can work for you. So you're going to screen grab or pause the video and answer these questions. I want you to answer these ones by yourself. Now, in the part one, you have about 12 to 13 questions. So you have to use your best sentences. That's why practice helps you. Practice really helps you. Now, I'm going to put a link also. I'll put some links down in the video. The first one will be there'll be a link on vocabulary where you can actually improve and learn words about specific topics. Now, in the first video, I told you about playing the word game. That's a good way. You must play the word game. Help yourself. Practice with the word game. So when you also use the vocabulary website, the link I want to share with you, when you go to that link, you can play the word game also with the vocabulary, with the words there. So I'll put a link for grammar as well, put a link for fluency, and coherence, and then a link for pronunciation. So answer these by yourself, and then also answer these ones. So these are the remaining 5 questions to complete part 1. Now, if you love me to assess or give you feedback on your answers, go to a website, speakpipe.com. It's a free website. You can sign up there, record your answers, okay? Record your answers to these particular questions, and then it will generate a link for you. You put those links together and send to my email, drenews7@gmail.com. Also, if you'd like me to actually coach you for IELTS, speaking, listening, writing, reading, also let me know in the email. I'll let you know what the packages are, and then we'll go ahead and have the lessons. Okay, so over to part 2. Now, part 2 is also called long run because you're speaking for a long time. So you have 3 to 4 minutes, 1 minute to look at the questions and write down what you want to say, and then 2 minutes to actually say those things. So now I'm going to go ahead. So I want you to also go ahead, get your pen and your paper. You can pause the video and answer this. So I'll give you 1 minute. So I'll do mine here as well while you're doing yours. 1 minute to look at the question and write down the points. So you're answering all these questions, and then 2 minutes to speak. Are you ready? So let's go. Okay, so 1 minute is over, so you have 2 minutes to speak. Okay, so the one activity I really enjoy doing during my leisure time would be exercise. Of course, I do so many other things, but one particular one I enjoy is exercise. I remember many years ago, my cousin came around to my house. He's a sportsman, and every day he works out and keeps fit. But I never enjoyed working out. I always thought it was stressful and too engaging. I felt it was time consuming. But my cousin stayed with me for about 3 weeks. And I can say that in those 3 weeks, he converted me. I remember the second week I joined him, and we ran, we got on the treadmill. I lifted some light weights, even skipping that day. So from that day, I began to develop interest in working out and keeping fit. Now, for me, since I think about a month after that, it became my daily routine. Every morning and evening, twice a day, I must exercise, I must work out. It became like a ritual for me, And for me, beyond just working out, I have benefits that actually keep me motivated to keep working out. Firstly, is the fact that it keeps me healthy, it keeps me in health. I don't recall when last I visited the hospital. My friends get sick all the time, but I keep fit. It keeps me healthy, keeps me strong. Secondly, I think it enhances my productivity because I get to have a full and concentrated day. Because when you work out, your muscles are relaxed and you're just good to go and more active. And thirdly, I also earn, it gives me income. I train others on working out, making videos, and because I visit the gym regularly and train. I'm an instructor, so I get paid for it. So I feel excited doing it. I feel excited. I feel fulfilled, and of course, it's just something you want to just keep doing. And in the future, I actually look forward to doing other things with my free time, like cinema. Stop. All right. How was it? I will score myself. I think it was great. So that was my answer. So you could go in any direction. So it doesn't have to be something you actually do. In the first video I made on IELTS speaking, I told you that you don't have to tell your experience. It mustn't be what you do. You can just create something. Imagination. So exercise. Because when you pick a particular topic, you should have words and vocabulary for that topic. So, like I said, exercise. I spoke about. I use synonyms. I use the gym. I use working out. I use fitness. I use keeping fit. Okay, I also use some specific terms like jogging, treadmill, lifting weights. These are words associated with exercise. Now, here's the thing. One thing I recommend for you to do in part two, the long run, is to use a story. You see, I began with a story of how I even got to this point of carrying out this activity in my leisure time. So I use leisure time. I replace that with free time. So you can use a story about, just create something about how you got there. That already is like 30 seconds or even more before you begin to answer the questions, or a story in between, or even stories. So you can use more than one story. Then there's a technique called the PPF. You see, that's past, present, future. Now, if you notice, before I was interrupted by the examiner, I was actually going to the future to talk about what I intend to do with my free time going forward. And that is very good because if you have a particular area where you think you have more vocabulary, switch there. I was switching to the cinema because probably I had learned more words on the cinema. So I'm going to switch from exercise to cinema. So that's what you can do. You can play around it. Past, present, future. I spoke about the story, how it all started. You can even speak about the changes from the past to the present. So I can say previously I worked out more in the gym, but as I got busier or as I relocated to a new place, there was no gym nearby my house, so I had to work out using YouTube videos and just, keep myself, be my own personal coach. You see, I talk about income, how I'm an instructor. I mean, in reality, I'm not one, not at least not yet. I could be, probably, but I just created that because there was a question about what do you like to do? Why do you like to do this activity? So I was going to give 3 points. And if you notice also, I use the transitions firstly, secondly, thirdly. So I gave 3 points. I was very deliberate, healthy, productivity, income. So you see, I mixed everything up. And also, there was a last question about how do you feel when you do it? I said excited, fulfilled. How often do you do it? I answered the question. I said morning and evening, twice a day. It's a daily routine. I would like you to probably play that part of my video again and look at how the different areas of that answer. So you can actually learn from there and also improve your own. So again, do yours. Again, let me hear what you did, and then let's see how well you performed. All right. Now the third part is a topic discussion. It's 4 to 5 minutes. You are answering questions connected to part 2, but these questions are more abstract. You see, you're giving more abstract ideas. The first one here is, do you think people should only focus on work? Personally, I do not agree with that. I don't think so. Because like the popular saying, all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. I think it's actually true because your body needs rest. So I think people should create time for play, create time to bond with their families, to keep their relationships, and of course create time as well to rest so your body doesn't break down. That's a good answer. In part 3, I love to tell my students to use points like firstly, secondly, clear-cut ideas, clear-cut positions. Okay. The next question here is, do you think how much time we spend at work in a lifetime? I think the question is not complete, so we'll skip that to the next one. Should parents plan the children's leisure time and activities? So again, well, I think it depends on the age of the child, but generally, I think parents should plan the leisure time and activities of their children. This is to enhance the effectiveness of this leisure time. Children are not able to make choices by themselves. So if you leave them to that time, they could make the wrong decisions. So I think it should be well planned to enhance the child's physical development and mental growth. Something like that. And if you think otherwise, again, answer as well. I do not think so. I think kids should be allowed to explore their own fantasies. Over the years, I believe one of the main problems has been parents trying to teach children or get them to do what they think is best for them. And most people have grown up wrong in society. So I think they should be allowed to, by themselves, decide and over time identify those areas that they enjoy. Something like that. So you should apply reason. When you say, oh, I don't think so, because firstly, children do not have the mental capacity to make decisions. I can give an example. Secondly, children require guidance. See? And thirdly, the parents know the children better, so they are able to make the better decisions for them. Something like that. So you see, you decide what principles, what connectives you want to use. You can combine them. You can stick with 1, 2, 3 as you wish. So answer the final one by yourself. Do you think the activities of the young generation are different from those of the older generation? So at this point, you can talk about the internet, talk about the evolution of probably television to the internet, talk about analog, digital, talk about social media, Facebook, Twitter. So there are many areas you can explore. But one important thing is practice. Use the link, talk with your friends, learn new words, arm yourself in different topics. So I'm going to put, so if you have a class with me, a lesson with me, there are other materials I can share with you that will help you to really, really build your confidence and get you ready, because that's the key. When you practice, practice, practice. So if you've not watched the parts 1 and 2 of this video, please check them out. They will help you massively. They'll help you massively. So let me know in the comment section if you have questions, if you have suggestions, if you have something else that can help someone in the speaking test. You can write it down. People can learn from it. And of course, like I said earlier, if you like to, if you like to have a personal class with me, a lesson for me to coach you for any of the parts, please let me know, and then I'll be glad to do that. Now, the final thing is go and ace your IELTS speaking test. So go ahead, ace the exam, be confident. Remember, put your examiner under pressure. Go in there and be confident, be relaxed, and you will have just what to say. So hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like, share, comment, and subscribe. To see you in the next video. I'll make other videos on speaking, on reading, writing, and listening. So watch out for them. God bless you. Bye-bye.